Today we're going to go ahead and talk about translations. A translation slides a figure from one position to another without turning it. So that means a triangle is going to move left, right, up, and down, but it will not turn around or rotate or flip in any way whatsoever. Every point on the original figure is moved the same distance in the same direction. The image is the same figure. Horizontal means to move left or right. The H for horizontal, that middle line in the H, that kind of reminds you, okay, go left or right. When you move left when the number is negative, and you move right when the number is positive. Vertical means to move up or down. These are words that you do need to memorize. Sometimes it's hard for us to remember, but we need to. Two lines in the V. Okay, those two lines, they're going kind of up or down, right? They remind us to go up or down. You move down when the number is negative. You move up when the number is positive. So let's go ahead and take a look. A description of a translation. Here we have our original figure, A, B, C, D. It slid horizontally to the left to where we have our new translated figure, A, B, C, D. Okay, it's not a reflection because this one is not the same distance from the y-axis that the original one was. That's why we call it a translation instead. Here we have the triangle XYZ. XYZ moved to the right to the right 3, or horizontally positive 3, and then it moved vertically down -1. So let's go ahead and practice. On the back of your notes, here's the next part. Look at the following quadrilateral. A is 1, 3, B is 5, 3, C is 1, 6, D is 5, 6. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and label these A, B, C, and D. Okay, so here is our quadrilateral or our rectangle. Now it says draw the image of the figure. I'm looking down below here. Draw the image of the figure translated 4 units to the left, or -4 horizontally, and 2 units down, -2 vertically. What are the figure's new coordinates? Okay, so we can go ahead and do this by moving each of these points, A, B, C, and D, moving each of these points -4 horizontally, or going 1, 2, 3, 4 horizontally, and down 2, 1, 2, to where this is my new A prime. C, I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 2. That's my new C prime. D, 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 2. That's my new D prime. And B, 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 2. That's my new B prime. So my new image of A, B, C, D, it's the exact same shape, exact same size, has been translated. Now, we can look at our coordinate points and figure out what they are. So I have -3, 1. That's my A. -3, 1. B is going to be 1, 1. C prime, I should say, C prime is -3, 4. And D prime is going to be 1, 4. Okay, so there we go. Next it says, graph triangle JKL with these vertices. -3, so I'm going to go back 3, up to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, K is over 1 up to 4, and L is over 1 up to 1. So that's L, that's K, that's J. Sometimes I label points last. That way I don't get my letters in the middle of my figure. So that's JKL. Okay, so first thing done, graph the triangle, done. Now it says translate the image, -2 units vertically. Remember, vertically means up and down. And 5 units horizontally. That's a +5, so it's going to be going to the right 5, okay? Take a look at your number line. Positive numbers to the right, negative numbers to the left. That's how we know. So let's see, -2 units vertically, down 2, all right, and 5 units horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my new L. Down 2, see how I'm counting it. If I'm counting it, you should be counting it. 5 horizontally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. J, down 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my new J. Prime. I guess I need to label those primes, right? So here I have my new triangle, J prime, K prime, L prime. Okay, so J. Now, there's another way that we can figure out what our new points are. Okay, you can, listen to what I'm saying, you can do like we did in the last one. And just like I said, for L, you would go over 2, up 2, and figure out that L is 2, 2. You can go over, I'm sorry, J is 2, 2. I'm sorry, I was looking at the black L below, but the J prime is 2, 2. You can go over 6, down 1, figure out that L is 6, -1, and over 6, up 2, and figure out that K is 6, +2. There's another way you can do this as well. It's up to you to decide which way. There might be a problem that says figure it out mathematically, so you need to know this way as well if you're not graphing. If I have J, which is -3, 4. Okay, that was my J. It says -2 vertically. Vertically is up and down, so that's my Y value. So I'm going to put a -2 underneath that 4. 5 is horizontally, that's a +5, so I'm going to put a +5 there. So now I'm going to do the math. -3 plus 5 is going to be 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So J prime is 2, 2. Does that make sense? If not, please put a little mark beside this paper. Next, I had my original K. K was 1, 4. K was 1, 4. Again, I'm going to use the exact same translation, which was -2 vertically, +5. I just do 4 minus 2 again, I get 2. 1 plus 5, I get 6. So my coordinate point for K prime is going to be 6, 2. Sure enough, over 6 up to 2. And then finally L. My L up above was 1, 1. And so I'm going to do what? -2, +5. 1 minus 2, that's going to be -1. 1 plus 5 is going to be 6. And hopefully I have over 6 down 1 for my new L prime. Now, if you would, please take a look at problems 3 and 4. Actually, just 3. It's asking you to graph triangle ABC and then translate it 4 units horizontally and 3 units vertically, okay? And then it wants to know what are the figure's new coordinates. Thanks. Okay, the first part of the video was dealing with the translation notes that we did in class. If you were absent, you'll be able to have those And the Word document should be in with the email that your parents should have received. The second part is the homework assignment that you have this evening, and it's on rotation. Now, before we can go on to rotation, we need to go ahead and talk about some things dealing with some grammar, okay? So I have a clock here on the screen, and I have the clock there for a reason, because we need to think about the coordinate plane, and when we talk about the coordinate plane, we need to talk about what clockwise is and some degrees of measurement, so on and so forth, okay? So first things first. When you look at a clock like this in most of your classrooms, maybe not the math classroom, there's a second hand that sweeps around the clock, okay? And the way that that sweeps is what we call clockwise. Okay, so that's a term that we need to know, clockwise. If it does not go to the right, if something goes backwards, if something turns to the left, we call that, and you may know this, but I still want you to write it down, counterclockwise. Okay, so we have clockwise and we have counterclockwise. Now, if I had something here, let's say I just have an image that's right here. Okay, not even going to worry about, you know, a whole lot of stuff right now. But what I would do, if I wanted to rotate this image 90 degrees clockwise, okay, 90 degrees clockwise, it would end up here. Say this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. Hopefully you remember that. If it was to rotate 90 degrees clockwise, it would end up here, okay? If it was to rotate 90 degrees, think of this as a big circle, okay? I know it's a square, it's a coordinate plane, but let's think of it as a big circle. Each quadrant counts as 90 degrees. 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 equals 360, okay? Equals 360. So we want to think about each time it moves to a different quadrant, it's moving 90 degrees, okay? So if it moved there, it would be 90 degrees. If I asked you to move it this way or counterclockwise 90 degrees, okay, then it would move into this quadrant. Now, so that's 90 degrees that way, that's 90 degrees that way, okay? Now, if I asked you to rotate the image 180 degrees, remember 180, we like to think of that as opposite, okay? That 180 degrees would end up here, okay? It's in the opposite quadrant. This quadrant here, quadrant 1 is opposite from quadrant 3. Now, if I wanted to, and see how it's kind of like diagonal from each other, that's another way to think of it. So if I asked you to rotate it 180 degrees counterclockwise, it's going to end up in the exact same spot. Okay? Whether you move it 180 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, it will end up in the opposite quadrant from where it's currently at. Okay. So then we have 270 degrees. If I wanted to rotate this object 270 degrees clockwise, it's going to end up right here. Okay? If I wanted to rotate it 270 degrees counterclockwise, the image will end up right here. Okay, so rotating an image 270 degrees clockwise, okay, 270 degrees clockwise, is the same as rotating it 90 degrees counterclockwise. Rotating an image 270 degrees counterclockwise is the same as rotating it 90 degrees clockwise. Okay. So let's go ahead, and these are just some of the terms that we need to know. Now, this kind of would hold true for any quadrant that you may have the image in, okay? If I had it in, if the image happened to be in quadrant 2, we would just have to use the same rules, just kind of move it over a little bit. So let's go ahead, let's talk about an image. First thing it says here is plot the points 2, 1, over 2, up 1, over 4, up 1, and F is over 4, up 4. All right, so I have D, and I have E, and I have F. All right. Okay, so I plot the points D, E, F. It says rotate D, E, F 90 degrees clockwise. All right, so this is what I want you to think of, okay? When I want to rotate this image 90 degrees clockwise, what I'm going to do is I want this image to end up here. Remember, its ultimate goal is to end up here. And sometimes it's hard for me to graph that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my whole coordinate plane, rotate it, in DEF, I'm going to kind of graph it the exact same way. It's over 2, up 1, over 4, up 1, over 4, up 4. Okay, if I could, I would on this paper, but you can see where the image is, all right? So you should have your triangle over here, okay? You should have the triangle that's already here before you rotated it, okay? And you should have rotated it. Now you're kind of looking at it here in this quadrant. And it's over 2, up 1, over 4, up 1, over 4, up 4. And you now have just rotated the image. Now it says rotate DEF, our original DEF. All right, rotate our original DEF. And it says rotate it 180 degrees. So I'm going to turn it. All right, let me go back here. So here's my DEF. I want to rotate it 180 degrees. So now it needs to end up here. So I'm going to turn my whole graph around to where this is kind of showing as my quadrant 1. Okay, so I want to spin it all the way around till my paper's upside down, basically. And here you should have your coordinate, your triangle DEF. Now mine isn't showing up so perfectly, okay? It's just because of some scale issues with this coordinate plane. But it's going to go over 2, up 1, over 4, up 1, over 4, up 4. So you should have your triangle graphed right now in quadrant 1, in quadrant 4, and quadrant 3. So then it says rotate it 270 degrees, all right? Again, so I have my paper back up here, right? And that means that it's going to have to go all the way to there. So I need to rotate my paper around. My paper, if you see, it's kind of rotating the opposite way, isn't it? Okay. Oop, did I just do a full circle? Yeah. I went too far. All right. And there I have over 2, up 1, over 4, up 1, over 4, up 4. Okay. So that's what you should have. You should have, when you're done with your notes, you should have that DEF here. You should have DEF here. You should have DEF here. And you should have DEF here. And it should look exactly like this. Thank you.